Hi there, my name is Odin, and in this video I'd like to go into a little bit of theory and tips about getting started with setting up your pages. In this video, you'll learn some of the basics regarding layout design, what kind of components to use, and how to combine these two to create some great looking and functional designs using Betty blocks. So starting off, a great design starts with a great layout. For this, we'll dive into some of the more popular layout components. Layout components do exactly what they say. They form the layout of your page, and this is usually the starting point for when creating new pages. You'll have to think what you want your page to look like once it's done. And we can realize this with the components that we can find within the layout section. The most frequently used components are the column component, the box component, and the row components. For those of you who aren't familiar with rows, rows are automatically generated whilst dragging a column component onto your page. Boxes are super flexible. You can use a bunch of these and basically think about the alignment and positioning that you want your components to have. So what this means is you can drag other components into a box and align them specifically where you want them. For example, if you would like a title to float on the right-hand side of a box in your page or on the left-hand side, within a box you have the allowed options to put everything within this box component wherever you want it to hover in your page design. So diving into some of that positioning of components. It basically follows the same rules as you might know from HTML if you are familiar with that. Meaning it offers values as static, relative, absolute, fixed, or sticky. These values can be applied to box components and all other components placed within them. Let's go over the details of positioning. Static positioning is the default behavior for all HTML elements. Elements with static positioning are placed in the normal flow of the page. They are not affected by top, bottom, left, or right properties. Relative positioning allows you to move an element relative to its normal position in the page flow. You can use the top, bottom, left, or right properties to adjust the position relative to where it would be otherwise. Other elements are not affected by the relative positioning of the element. Absolute positioning removes the element from the normal page flow. The component is positioned relative to its nearest positioned ancestor. So think of a component within your box component will respond differently to where your box component is. So if you say that an absolute positioned title needs to be right of its ancestor component, and well, you have a box component around your title component, then the title component will move on its own slightly away from your box component because of the positioning you've used. Or a containing box, of course. It could be a component, it could be a it could be a column, it could be a box, either of that. If no positioned ancestor is found, then it'll just use whatever is above that. It is by far the most flexible positioning type, but absolute positioning can lead to unwanted overlapping elements if not managed carefully. So the title can move in front of an image or other text that you don't want to overlap, of course. So keep an eye on that. The fixed component option remains attached to its initial position, even when scrolling over your page. So the component is positioned relative to the viewport, your browser window or your mobile phone, whatever you're looking on. Used for creating elements like sticky headers, footers, or sidebars. But beyond that, we have sticky positioning. Sticky positioning is a combination of both relative and fixed positioning. An element with sticky positioning behaves like a relatively positioned element until it reaches a certain scroll position, after which it becomes fixed to the viewport. This is often used when creating headers or navigation menus that stick to the top of your page when you scroll down. So imagine a website that you've been on, you see a nice menu bar on the top of your page, and the moment you started scrolling down, that menu bar would stay there. That's what sticky positioning is used for. So it sticks to the top of your page. Beside the positioning, you can also choose the height of measurement units So think of percentages, pixels, px, rem, that's root element, view height, that means vh. Another one of the settings is vw for view width or view max. You can use these to align the type of measurement you want to use in your component in comparison to its ancestor component. So let's say I want my component to be 20% to the right of my ancestor, then it will use the size of the box or the column you have placed your component in, and it will move 20% of the right to its parent component. When you build a design, make sure to build from the top of the bottom to your page. It will make it a lot easier to position your components and to get a good grasp and look and feel of what your page will look like. All right, let's dive deeper into columns and how they work. BettyBlocks uses a grid system. A grid system is made up out of 12 blocks wide, meaning that whatever screen you're using it on, your screen is always by definition 12 wide. The column components are by default set like this. A one column component uses the full 12 blocks of width. Two columns use 6 blocks each. 3 columns use 4 blocks each. And 4 columns use 3 blocks each. As you notice, the sum of the blocks, of the sum of the width of the blocks, is 12 blocks in total. You can create thinner pages or thinner middle segments. For example, if you create a column of 2 blocks first, then a column of 8 blocks wide, and then finish off with another column of 2 blocks wide. This method is used to enable page responsiveness. Try using the view buttons on the bottom left of your page builder page to see what it looks like when viewing your page from another device. For example, click on the mobile icon to check how your page would look like if someone were to view it from their mobile phone, or a tablet view, or a full laptop view, or a PC view. Whilst designing your layout, you might struggle with the navigation between all of the different components that you'll drag onto your page. And BettyBlocks has created a nice feature for this to help you navigate through the maze of all those components. Well, this is mainly meant for me because I have some trouble with navigating throughout my components sometimes. So the first tip I'd like to give you is move the component tree to the right-hand side of your page before building. For me, this allows me to see where I'm at in a quick glance. It is also really nice to navigate to a component within a component. And whenever I would be scrolling up and down throughout my pages, the components you would target are highlighted in your component tree. So that also means that you exactly know where in the hierarchy your mouse is located. You can also go a level above your current component by clicking on your component, then selecting the up arrow. And whilst working within data components or forms, you can also see this arrow button to a database icon, meaning it'll take you to whatever database connection you've got going on with that component immediately. And next to that, the button will let you navigate to the form or data component which is currently selected. It is also possible to use the arrow buttons on your keyboard to navigate through all the components on your page. The up and down arrows allow you to go through the child and parent options components accordingly, and the left and right arrows allow you to go through the component fields on the same level in hierarchy. When you are building your designs, make sure you're not doing more work than necessary. BettyBlocks has a feature called partials, which is basically multiple components blended together into one that is reusable. So, for example, when you create a navigation bar that you'd like to reuse on multiple pages, make sure to hit that Convert to Partial button. You can share it shares automatically across your pages, and that means that whenever you are starting to work on a new page, open up the Partials tab and drag that menu bar you've created before into your page. You can edit these partials as well with their specific edit functionality, meaning that you'll edit it once and it'll update on every page you use the partial in. And one of the last tips I'd like to give you before diving into some more bigger page design, make sure that you've already had a glance at your colors and your color scheme, because colors are also an important part of creating a good design, of course. Having your company colors already present in your design will give you a better impression than having an all over the place looking design. And creating this is super easy, or at least you can do it fairly quick. BettyBlocks has a theme builder ready in which you can accommodate your brand requirements by using the desirable color codes or fonts, or both. Basic colors that come out of the box look like this. You'll see these colors automatically applied whenever you start building your application. And all of them are configurable to your own preference. We have some wonderful documentation on this, helping you to set up your own color guide. And maybe you just want to use your company's color scheme, or maybe just click some random colors and see whatever the design looks like in your eyes. It might be a new way to go, you know? That was it for getting started with setting up your page. Make sure to check out our documentation to learn even more about designing with BettyBlocks. And see you in the next video.